Hello, welcome to Rural Community Assistance Corporation's virtual Start, Grow, Revive Your Business workshop series, Module 4. My name is Christina Brownlee, and I am a Rural Development Specialist with RCAC. Before we begin, we would like to take a moment to recognize our funder, the U.S. Department of Commerce Minority Business Development Agency, for their generous support. Here, our roadmap shows us what we have been able to already accomplish and the topics we have already visited. Today, we will explore getting to know your partners. In this module, we will recognize the benefits of a value chain, we'll identify the differences between the three types of value chain partners, demand, transactional, and support, we'll pinpoint partners for your business idea, and finally, we'll start mapping your value chain for your business idea. Today, we will introduce value chains, we'll review the types of partners in value chains, we'll explore mapping value chains and start to map your value chain, and finally we'll look at next steps.
Now we're going to talk about value chains. So what is a value chain? Value chains are people, businesses, and organizations linked together to help take a product or service to the market, otherwise known as your customers or potential customers. We have spent time looking at your individual business ideas. Next, we want to look at the big picture of your business and understand how the value chain works for your business idea. If your idea is to sell your beadwork, where are you going to buy your beads and supplies? Will you buy them online, at craft stores, or somewhere else? What are you going to bead? Will you bead jewelry, regalia, or are you going to do custom beadwork? Who would you go to rent a booth to sell at the Midwinter Fair or another local community event? Are there any local stores that you would want to display your beadwork in? How will you market your work and where? Is there anyone who can help with these support services locally? And where might your best customers be found? These are all questions that can be answered through the development of a value chain. So what are the key differences between a traditional supply chain and a value chain? A supply chain typically starts with a producer who is trying to find a way to sell their product or service to the market and is less concerned about the needs of their potential customers. A value chain starts with demand, the needs or demands of people in your community, and your potential users or customers or consumers. Everything starts with them and then filters back through the value chain. In a supply chain, success is usually measured in net income or money made by the producers. In a value chain, we measure success in the number of assets created, strengthened, and maintained. In a traditional supply chain, trust and communication is weak because transactions between partners are mostly financial. In a value chain, trust and communication are key in collaborating and working together to be responsive to market demand.
As Nick mentioned just a moment ago, traditional supply chains start with producers trying to sell something, which means products are pushed to market by producers, whether there's demand for those products or not. Each step in the chain is primarily focused on selling their product to the next link in the chain. This is an example of a traditional supply chain for bread. If you think about a loaf of bread, where does that loaf of bread start? If we follow it back to the beginning, a loaf of bread starts as wheat seeds. The seed supplier sells their wheat seeds to the farmer, who grows the wheat and sells it to the grain elevator, that then sells it to the flour mill to be processed. The mill then sells the flour to the bakery that bakes the bread and sells it to the distributor, who takes it to the store, where it's finally purchased by the customer. This all takes place with only limited back and forth communication about what type of bread customers want or need. What if customers actually want rye bread, but no one knows because the supply chain is focused on producing and selling wheat bread? You have unhappy customers and potential sales are lost. Value chains are more sustainable than traditional supply chains because they start with producers understanding what customers want and need, meaning products are pulled to market by customers. This allows producers to match their products to the wants and needs of their customers, reducing waste and increasing profits. This is an example of a value chain for rye bread. In this instance, the bakery has taken the time and effort to canvass their customers to find out what kinds of bread people are buying or want to buy. This could include talking to grocery stores to find out what kinds of breads are most popular in a region, and reaching out to people directly who buy bread to ask them about their changing wants and needs. By focusing on the needs of potential customers, the store is able to communicate to the bakery that people want rye bread. The bakery then tells the mill that they need wheat flour and rye flour, who communicates this back to the farmer so the farmer can buy both types of seeds from the seed supplier. This is a simplified example of a value chain. In reality, there are lots of other partners that need to be included in the chain. For example, who supplies the yeast and other ingredients and equipment the bakery needs to make the bread? Are there other potential customers for bread that don't include people shopping at the grocery store? Is there an inspector that needs to certify the bakery? Next, Madison is going to talk about the 3 different types of partners in a value chain.
Let's talk about the different types of value chain partners: demand partners, transactional partners, and support partners. Demand partners are the people who have an interest in buying and using your product or service. These partners might include individuals, businesses or organizations, or institutions. These partners are your customers, the people who want to buy your goods or services. They have a problem or a need that you're trying to solve. It's important to develop a relationship with demand partners and know how much of a product or service they need. Without taking the time to get to know them, you're producing on blind faith that someone will buy your product that you're selling. Transactional partners are the people, businesses, or organizations that play a direct role in producing and getting products or services into the hands of customers. Transactional partners might include, but aren't limited to, suppliers that provide the raw materials needed to make goods or services. So for example, this might be a seed supplier in the bread value chain. Producers who turn raw materials into basic goods and services, like the farmer who turns the seeds into wheat. Aggregators who bundle basic goods from multiple producers, represented in the bread value chain by the operator of the grain elevator who buys wheat from multiple farmers. The value-added producers and processors who turn basic goods into different products and package them, like the flour mill and the baker. Distributors who transport goods to retailers and consumers, like the shipping company who ships the bread from the commercial bakery to the grocery store. And finally, retailers who sell goods to the demand partners or customers. Support partners are the people, businesses, and organizations that help transactional partners produce their products or services, even though they're not directly part of the production process. Support partners provide transactional partners knowledge and resources and can help remove barriers to production. Support partners include organizations like RCAC, OLI, and NADC that provide technical assistance, as well as organizations that provide certifications, financing, or research and development, organizations or groups that influence policy and regulations, and the media. Can you think of any others? There are 3 types of interest in the value chain model. The first is self-interest, where we ask, what's in it for me? Self-interest isn't a bad thing. It actually can be a strong motivator. If there wasn't any self-interest, would you be thinking about starting or expanding your business? Self-interest is a necessary component for all types of economic development. The second is shared interest, where we ask, what's in it for us? This is a situation where all parties involved gain some type of advantage or mutual benefit. It's a win-win situation for everyone. Shared interest is especially important when we think about transactional partners who help you get products or services to your customers. For example, you could buy the supplies you need to make your product or service from national suppliers or big box stores because they're less expensive. But what are the shared benefits of buying those same items locally instead? And the third type of interest is common interest, where we ask, what's in it for everyone? Here we look at the benefits outside of the value chain to see how the community as a whole might benefit.
Now that we know the three types of partners that make up a value chain, we are going to explore the process of mapping a value chain. Here, we have a sample value chain map. You have a picture of this value chain map in your workbook behind the Module 4 PowerPoint. The product or service in this value chain is tomato soup. Let's take a closer look at how this value chain is constructed. Let's start with the demand because that is the most important piece. The demand partners are in the blue circle. But what does demand mean? Remember, these are the people interested in buying the product or service. In this example, delicious and nutritious tomato soup. As you can see, individuals and local consumers want the soup, but also organizations such as the hospital that feeds their patients and the local school district that feeds their students. Next, let's take a look at the transactional partners shown in green rectangles. Our transactional partners are the farmer who grows the vegetables, the aggregator that goes to all the different farms to collect the vegetables and then sells them to a processor who turns them into soup, a distributor who finds the customers, and eventually they get to the consumer. The support partners are shown here in orange. Their role is to support the transactional and the demand partners. Our support partners include the Farmers Alliance, a support network for growers, a local food certifier who inspects and certifies if produce is organic, the food safety trainer who trains the soup processor on safe practices, the Healthy Kid organization who wants to make sure the produce is organic and of high quality. Support partners can support multiple partners throughout the process. For example, the local food certifier who works with the vegetable grower, the aggregator, and the Farmers Alliance. This is just an example. Value chains don't always have to be a straight line and can be all different shapes. The important thing to remember as you start to work on your value chain is getting all your partners out on paper and then figuring out what type of partner they are. Here, we can see a real-life example of a value chain for a farmers and arts market. The yellow sticky notes are the transactional partners, for example, the local farmers and local artists who sell their items. The pink are support partners, such as a regional growers association that assists farmers and the local health and safety inspector. And the green-blue is demand, local restaurants that purchase produce, and tourists visiting who buy handmade crafts to take home. As community coordinators, Nick and Madison are here to help you identify the three types of partners for your business idea. Communication between you as the business owner and your different partners is key to understanding demand. This is why canvassing your customers is so important, as we focused on in the last module.
So now we're going to start to map our value chains. When creating a value chain map for your business, there aren't any special supplies needed, so feel free to use what you have on hand. You'll want to begin by identifying your demand partners. These are your customers or potential customers. The next step is to identify your transactional partners. These are partners that help produce and deliver your products or services. Start with raw material suppliers and work towards customers. And finally, you'll want to identify your support partners. These are partners that provide technical assistance, financing, certification, and things like that. So don't forget to list RCAC and OLI or NADC as support partners.
For next steps to get ready for our live Module 4 session, please fill out the Identifying Your Value Chain Partners handout, follow the steps in the Mapping Your Value Chain handout, and please take a picture of your value chain and post it in your community's SGR Facebook group if you're able to. These handouts are all located in your workbook behind the tomato soup value chain map. And just as a reminder, we are here to support you. Please reach out to either Nick or Madison depending on where you're located. Their contact information is here and also in your workbook. Thank you for participating in the virtual Start, Grow, Revive Your Business workshop series. We look forward to connecting with you during your community's online interactive session. In the meantime, please feel free to post your thoughts and questions in your community's Facebook group. And as we wrap up today's session, remember, we never fail until we stop trying. Many thanks.